Good evening. India got its first Chief of Defence Staff today. A long-pending defence reform has thus come to fruition after a wait of decades. General Bipin Rawat took charge as the CDS and outlined his priorities, even as the Congress officially distanced itself from some critical remarks made by some of its leaders on the appointment of the CDS. We will share with you in detail what the priorities of the new CDS are and why the questions raised by some Congress leaders in the past were never relevant. Our in focus tonight is India gets its first CDS, that the centre upping the ante on anti-CAA moves and protests, and more in this edition of Newsnight. I'm Prasad. First up, the headlines. General Bipin Rawat takes charge as India's first Chief of Defence Staff, outlines focus areas as enhancing coordination between the three services. Prime Minister and Home Minister hailed the appointment of the first CDS as historic. Newly appointed CDS General Bipin Rawat calls on Raksha Mantri at South Block. Rajnath Singh extends his best wishes to him for a successful tenure ahead. Centre ups the ante on anti-CAA protests and moves. Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad lashes out at Kerala Assembly's move to pass a resolution demanding scrapping of CAA. Says the state's constitutional duty is to implement laws passed by Parliament. Union INB Minister Prakash Javadekar pins blame on the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress for violence witnessed during anti-CAA protests in Delhi. ISRO Chairman K. Sivan sets the agenda for 2020, says training of 4 Indian Air Force pilots chosen for Gaganyaan to begin in Russia this month. Work is on Mission Chandrayaan 3. ISRO plans to launch 25 space missions in 2020. 2 army soldiers lay down their lives in an encounter with heavily armed infiltrators in Rajouri's Naushera sector near the LOC. Encounter took place during a search exercise by the Indian Army. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka starting tomorrow. He will distribute Krishi Karman Awards and Commendation Awards to states and Krishi Karman Awards for progressive farmers in Tumkur. PM to also dedicate 5 DRDO Young Scientist Laboratories to the nation in Bengaluru. For the second time in a row, GST revenue collection remains above the 1 lakh crore rupees mark, with December mop up at 1.03 lakh crore rupees, indicating a pickup in consumption. A special court in Mumbai deals a setback to Vijay Mallya, allows a consortium of 15 banks led by SBI to utilize attached movable properties of the proclaimed absconder towards payment of his debt. Mallya owes banks nearly 9,000 crore rupees. And the world erupts into celebrations welcoming New Year 2020. Celebrations peak from New Zealand to New York. Our top focus tonight, General Bipin Rawat has taken charge as the first Chief of Defence Staff in India. A long-pending reform in higher defence management has thus come into fruition. As CDS, General Rawat will serve as the principal military advisor to the Defence Minister on all tri-services matters. He will ensure greater synergy between the three services, prioritised acquisition and faster modernisation.
With the dawn of 2020, India got its first Chief of Defence Staff in General Bipin Rawat. His primary role would be to ensure better coordination and integration between the three services and to advise the Defence Minister on all tri-services matters.
This is a momentous day for India. India's first CDS, Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, took over after laying wreaths at the National War Memorial, and also he inspected a tri-service guard of honour.
The Chief of Defence Staff will serve up to a maximum age of 65 years, which translates to 3 years in General Rawat's case, since he's 62 years old. Upon taking charge, the new Chief of Defence Staff outlined his focus areas as integrating the three services.
तीनों सर्विस को एकजुट होकर सक्षम बनाना, और हम इसी तरफ कार्रवाई करते रहेंगे। इसमें आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स एक साथ टीम वर्क करते हुए कार्रवाई करेंगे। सीडीएस जो है उनके ऊपर नियंत्रण रखेगा, लेकिन कार्रवाई जो होगी वो टीम वर्क के जरिए होगी। हमें तीनों सर्विसेज जो हैं उसका 1+1+1 का जो जोड़ आता है उसको 3 नहीं बनाना है, उसको 5 या 7 बनाना है। तो यू हैव टू अचीव मोर थ्रू सिनर्जी एंड इंटीग्रेशन। ये मकसद है जो सीडीएस को जिस तरह से टास्क दिया गया है।
Welcoming the creation of the post of CDS and General Bipin Rawat's appointment as India's first CDS, Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhadauria said that the onus is now on the three services to make the reform succeed.
Creation of CDS is a very big step and a very, very bold step. The onus is really on the three services now to support it fully and to make it succeed in its formulation stage and bring in the jointness, the synergy, economize the effort and really achieve everything that is desired from this post well within the time frame specified.
In a series of tweets, Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the general on his appointment. He also recalled how the ground was laid for this reform after the Kargil military confrontation, paying homage to those who have served and laid down their lives for the nation. The PM also underlined how the new institution is going to cater to modernization of military forces. Creation of the Department of Military Affairs with requisite military expertise and institutionalization of the post of CDS is a momentous and comprehensive reform that will help our country face the ever-changing challenges of modern warfare. General Rawat met Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh at South Block after assuming charge. Apart from giving attention to integration and joint training, he said efforts will be made to ensure uniformity and integrating of systems for procurement so that the Army, the Navy and the Air Force can work in coordination with each other.
कि जो प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसीजर है उसमें हम किस तरह से यूनिफॉर्मिटी ला सकते हैं, किस तरह से हम जो हमारे सिस्टम्स हैं बीच में इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं ताकि आर्मी, नेवी और एयरफोर्स आपस में एक दूसरे के साथ तालमेल के साथ काम कर सकें। जहां तक अभी तक मुझे जानकारी हुई है, ये सीडीएस को टास्क दिया गया है। आगे जो टास्क मिलेगा उसको हम सक्षम रूप से करते आएंगे।
Home Minister Amit Shah also hailed the appointment of the first CDS, saying it was a historic day for India. On the day that he was appointed CDS, General Rawat underlined the apolitical nature of the defence forces, saying the forces stay far away from politics and work on the directives of the government. He also paid tributes to martyrs at the National War Memorial. The recommendation of a Chief of Defence Staff was made by Kargil Review Committee, besides a group of ministers set up on defence reforms in 2001 and a number of other committees. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced the post of CDS on the 15th of August 2019 from the ramparts of the Red Fort. Government sees the implementation of the decision as another key step towards building a new India. With Nandita Dagar in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
So India has got its first Chief of Defence Staff in General Bipin Rawat, but let's understand in greater detail what the mandate of the Chief of Defence Staff is and also what the mandate of the Department of Military Affairs is, which is a newly created department under the Defence Ministry. Let's understand that in greater detail now. India has got its first CDS. And the CDS actually heads the newly created Department of Military Affairs. So when that announcement was made by the Cabinet sometime around the 24th of last month, we saw that that particular department of DMA was yet to be created, but now that department has been created. Principal Military Advisor to Defence Minister on all tri-services matters. So this is how the CDS is going to work. Is going to be the Principal Military Advisor on all tri-services matters to the Defence Minister. Ensures jointness in training, logistics and procurement of three services, and that is why there's so much focus on the aspect of synergy or coordination between the services, and he is going to ensure smooth coordination. Ensures coordination in joint operations as well. We'll tell you later some of the joint operations that have taken place in the recent past and how the appointment of a CDS can act as a catalyst in further ensuring seamless joint operations. Won't have any operational role or military command, so that sets to rest many of the questions that were being raised by some of the opposition parties. There will really be no particular service that he is going to command. There will be no such thing whatsoever. Administers all tri-services organizations or commands. So he is going to administer all tri-services organizations, institutions or commands. Tri-services commands related to cyber and space under his command. We'll understand in greater detail later what the implication of this could be, whether India can become a force to reckon with insofar as outer space is concerned, as also cyber world is concerned. Military advisor to Nuclear Command Authority, he was asked a question in the press conference as well on what that would mean. He said that he would very much be in the loop when it comes to the Nuclear Command Authority. Assigns inter-services prioritization to capital acquisition proposals. So he will have a lot of say insofar as prioritization of capital acquisition proposals is concerned, and thus will play a key role in implementation of the modernization drive for the three services. Well, brings reforms to augment combat capabilities of the forces. So he will be ushering into reforms into the three services, and he will be enhancing thus the operational capabilities, the combat capabilities of the three services as well. Permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. So he is the permanent chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. Remember, this recommendation was made way back by the Naresh Chandra Committee, and this also has come to fruition in a sense. DMA, Department of Military Affairs, to facilitate restructuring of military commands for best utilization of resources. So considering that resources are limited, they need to be best utilized, and for that, whatever restructuring of military commands is required, that will be done by the CDS. DMA to promote use of resources in a very, very optimal manner. So that was about the CDS, and this is all about the distribution of power, so that there is really no confusion insofar as turfs are concerned or distribution of powers and responsibilities are concerned. 8 key responsibilities of the CDS-led DMA. It's going to be promoting jointness in procurement, training and operations are some of those 8 responsibilities. So they are really 3 out of those 8 responsibilities of the CDS. Non-capital purchases and encouraging use of indigenous equipments. So he is going to encourage use of indigenous equipments, and he'll also have a say insofar as non-capital acquisition of the defense forces is concerned. Defense policy stays with the defense secretary. So when it comes to the distribution of powers, defense policy stays with the defense secretary. It's going to be status quo there. Defense capital acquisition stays with defense secretary as well. So defense policy as well as capital acquisition, the big ticket capital acquisition, is going to stay with the defense secretary. NDC and IDSA under the defense secretary, because these things are much more than military matters. DMA is Department of Military Affairs. This concerns larger domains, and that is why they continue to be under the defense secretary. 4 items moved Department of Defense to DMA. So 4 items have been moved from the Department of Defense to DMA, and there are a total of 8 responsibilities like we told you about under the DMA. Now under DMA ambit, the 3 armed services, their respective headquarters, territorial army and works relating to Army, Navy and Air Force, besides the few that we had outlined earlier. So this is an overall picture insofar as distribution of responsibilities between the Defense Secretary as well as the CDS. Having said that, how else can the CDS help? Well, CDS is going to ensure greater synergy between services. Look at some of the joint operations that happened. Operation Vijay happened in 1999. 35,000 soldiers of the Indian Army and Air Force participated. Had a CDS been there, there could have been greater synergy. And remember, the first recommendation came in the aftermath of the Kargil war in 1999, and that is why it was recognized that this was a gap that needs to be filled, and that is why the recommendation was made, and now it's been implemented after decades. Operation Safed Sagar 1999, IAF supported ground troops during Kargil confrontation. So this was the role that the Indian Air Force played during the Kargil war in 1999, and it's called Operation Safed Sagar. Operation Maitri 2015, Indian Army and Air Force helped relief and rescue operations in quake-hit Nepal. So Indian Army and Air Force did play a very, very important role in quake-hit Nepal insofar as relief and rescue operations are concerned, and that's not all. There have been such joint operations elsewhere as well, including in India, and that's the next plate. Operation Madat and Sahyog in 2018, Indian Army and Navy launched rescue operations in flood-hit Kerala. So this essentially underlines that had there been a CDS even earlier, we could have had more such joint operations, and the effectiveness of such joint operations would have been far more. And that could well be the case going forward. We'll take a break at this point in time. After the break, we'll discuss further on the implications of having a CDS, why a CDS is required.
महात्मा के मंत्र। खुद वो बदलाव बनिए जो आप दुनिया में देखना चाहते हैं। महात्मा के मंत्र। स्वच्छता में ईश्वर का वास होता है।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight. In focus tonight as India gets its first CDS. To talk about that, we have with us retired Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma. He is also a distinguished fellow with the Centre for Land Warfare Studies. Besides that, we also have with us Vice Admiral Shankar. He is a former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff. I welcome you both to Newsnight. I'll begin with you, Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, on whether it's true that really the need for greater cohesion between the services is felt right from the National Defence Academy to the corridors of power in the South Block, and has that gap been filled with the appointment of the CDS?
Yeah, it's a very major step that has taken place with the appointment of CDS, but then of course it's not the final and the end all. It is a beginning. It is now a beginning of bringing jointness across in the services in all fora, in all manner of thinking processes. So it is a great beginning. It's a beginning which is much delayed, but it's happened. And let's say that the National Defence Academy or other courses where other training institutions where the three services were training together is creates a good bonhomie, but they were not actually totally instrumental in evolving one full defence policy or defence procurement procedures. It wasn't enough. So this CDS has to now, the first CDS has to now get across and start formulating policies of this kind.
Vice Admiral Sinha, why was this recommendation held up in terms of implementation for so long? Because this was first made, I understand, after the 1999 Kargil war by the high-level committee that was headed by K. Subramanian, and after that there was a group of ministers also that recommended it, and there was this Naresh Chandra task force that had recommended a permanent chairman of Chiefs of Defence Staff. So, since these recommendations go really way back into decades, what had held this up?
I think we have to recall that a lot of the recommendations of the Subramaniam Committee report was implemented except for the CDS. But the headquarters where the CDS was expected to operate, which is called the Integrated Defence Staff Headquarters, that was operationalized. However, the head of that organization was not a 4-star general. He was a 3-star general on equivalent ranks in the Navy and the Air Force. And he was a member of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. So I think one of the reasons was that they could not get a sort of political coherence amongst the parties who were in power, possibly. But Modi government has got a very big sort of majority now, 302 or 305 seats in the parliament. So it's a very bold decision which should have been taken long back. For whatever reasons, it has taken place now. So I think it is a very historic decision, number one. The second issue is that the headquarters structure actually exists, the IDS headquarters, and a lot of the functions for the ease of CDS, a lot of functions are being carried out by the IDS headquarters, but obviously the CISC did not have all those powers where you could negate one of the chiefs of the service. So he was basically a non-voting advisor. But now with the CDS coming, he will be the permanent chairman of Chiefs of Staff. The second issue is what has happened after the Kargil Committee report is the Nuclear Command Authority. Now Chairman Chiefs of Staff is a very important component of the Nuclear Command Authority, and we have had Chairman Chiefs of Staff for very short tenures, depending upon their retirement age is 62. So you have had varying sort of head as far as the Chiefs of Staffs are concerned. But now you will have a permanent chairman for 3 years, and therefore the decision making, advising the government on the military matters, on the nuclear matter, is going to become a little more, shall I say, little more weight to the advice given by the CDS.
Lieutenant General Sharma, there is all kind of speculation and questions being asked, especially by the opposition parties, on whether the CDS will be an all-powerful commander. There have been certain tweets by certain members of the opposition parties asking, so will the three services chiefs now be reporting to the CDS, who in turn would be reporting to the Defence Ministry, or will the CDS be reporting to the Defence Secretary and then to the Defence Minister? So there are all kinds of questions being asked, even though if one goes through the government press release of the Press Information Bureau of the 24th of last month, when the cabinet took the decision, everything is pretty clear there. The mandate of the Department of Military Affairs that the CDS now heads and that of the CDS are all clear. So why are such questions being asked?
I think in a manner of functioning in our country, whenever new initiatives are taken, it creates various organizations and fora, various people who start contesting right from beginning. I think the whole method has been fairly explicitly brought out. It has given an elaborate charter. There is a very elaborate charter given out to the CDS. There are methodologies of reporting already stated. Now, naturally, there will be teething problems. There will be issues of coordination intra-service between the three services and the CDS. There will be problems of coordination with the Department of Defence, which exists even today. And there will be methodologies established with other Ministry of Home Affairs and the NSCS or the NSA. All this will evolve in time. I mean, we don't have to get excited overnight that everything comes on a platter. The first CDS and the headquarter ideas which exist under him will have to establish rules of business, and it will happen in time. I mean, where is the hurry and knee-jerk reaction to say it has not been evolved and it's not been brought out? It would happen in time.
Absolutely. And in a development, in fact, the official spokesperson of the Congress did say that they do not identify with the views expressed by certain Congress leaders, distancing themselves from those statements. So the old strategy of bad cop and good cop played by the Congress on various issues. We saw that in Article 370 as well. But let's keep politics aside now. Well, coming to you, Vice Admiral Sinha, on what could the appointment of a CDS really mean insofar as India's edge in the cyber world or outer space is concerned?
I think that's a very good question. If you've seen the government notification, the cyber and space and subsequently the special forces, they will be directly under the CDS, because he is not exercising command, mainly because they are not commands. They are all right now, they are defense cyber agency, they are defense sort of space agency. In the hybrid warfare, the mixed warfare which is going on right now, or which is developing as of now, these three issues or these three methods of warfare, cyber, space and special forces, are applicable across the board to all three services. And therefore, the CDS has a very important role in the future warfare, planning of future warfare. While the individual service will deal with their part of operation, but there are issues which can now, this will have to be factored, and that factoring will have to be done by the CDS, and therefore he being the senior most of the three now and retirement age of 65, it puts him in a very sort of right military hierarchy, so to say, that he can take these decisions, he can get a consensus built quicker than what it was happening earlier, which was actually left to the Ministry of Defence, to the bureaucracy or maybe to the minister. I know they always found it very difficult, but now if it comes from a military general who is a CDS, then it is understood that he has generated the consensus, and the new methods of warfare which are applicable across all three services will be factored, and that factoring will be done by CDS with the consensus of all three chiefs.
Lieutenant General Sharma, do you get a sense that India under the CDS, or the three services and the CDS, will now work towards new theatre commands, or will there be a model that is more attuned to India which may not be having new theatre commands? So, a sense that perhaps one gets from the press conference addressed by General Bipin Rawat.
I think one of the charter laid down by the government letter, which is on appointing the CDS, explicitly states that there should be theatre commands in the course of next 3 years. So it is an order, it's an task given across to the CDS. Now, which form the theatre commands will take, there is a large amount of literature already published in India on both sides of the coin, saying whether we require theatre commands or don't require it. Also, what type of theatre commands we require, what is the form it would take place, what is the structure. So there is literature available, there is thought already given to it. The CDS has to now get a consensus among the three services, present it to the government. And you see the tweet by the Prime Minister today. Prime Minister explicitly referred to modern warfare. He has tasked in his tweet itself to the CDS and the three services, you have to start thinking about modern warfare. Modern warfare implies theatre commands, the jointness which has to come up across in theatre commands, and the CDS will have to now start working with the three services to bring a consensus to what type or typology of theatre commands are essential to us.
Vice Admiral Sinha, Are we now looking at fast-tracking the entire modernization process? Because considering our requirements, for instance, the sanction strength of the squadrons of the Indian Air Force is around 42. We are at below 30 now. Look at the Army's modernization plans, 2,600 infantry combat vehicles procurement, 1,700 future-ready combat vehicles, IAF's modernization plans, acquisition of 110 multi-role fighter aircraft, naval modernization plans, 200 ships, 500 aircraft, 24 submarines. So considering all this, will there be prioritization now for capital and non-capital acquisition as well as for modernization, and will that be done quickly? Because there's already a target that has been spent of spending around $130 billion over the next 5 to 7 years.
See, the moment CDS sits with the other three chiefs and decides or discusses the matter of the future warfare and what capability should be built. So we are already talking about synergy, and we are already talking about the capabilities which need to be built up by three services, and therefore with CDS being there, there is going to be no duplication of capability. It is quite possible that the distant warfare may be with more involvement of one particular service which requires more assets, or if you have across the border, then possibly one particular service will require more assets in next year or maybe next year. So the prioritization and capability building, which the CDS has got a primary role to play with the consensus of three chiefs, it will automatically decide what will be the priority. Maybe 1 year they might say fine, I think the air power requires to be added on theatre, so therefore we will have more money given on capital acquisition to the Air Force, or maybe to the Army, or maybe to the Navy. So now the capital acquisition, which is formally with the Department of Defence headed by the Defence Secretary, they will get guided by the prioritization given by the CDS and for the type of warfare that we are going to fight. So therefore you will find that there will be it will take some time. I mean, it's a very first bold step, and General Rawat has a big task that to make the framework, the rules of business as it is called within the three services. So I think it's going to be fast track, because he will straightway tell to the government or to the defence minister that for this kind of warfare, this is what we need.
Is indigenization going to be a key area as well? Very quickly, Lieutenant General Sharma,
very much.
Are we going to see a boost to indigenization under the Department of Military Affairs?
Yeah, it should happen. Department of Military Affairs is tasked for revenue expenditure. The capital procurement having been given to the Defence Secretary. So in the revenue part of it, I am sure there will be a significant push to indigenization, which is also possible. It is also within the realm. Only thing is, the rules have to be so accordingly amended that it gives a boost across to private industry in India and across modernization of the PSUs, defence PSUs, so that we can bring about that indigenization, which we all know it is absolutely required. Navy has done a fine work by having shipyards built, but everything requires modernization as time comes across, and I think it will give a great boost in times to come to Make in India as in defence sector also.
Absolutely. For starters, the CDS has outlined its priorities, and they include smooth coordination between the three services, teamwork and much more. Well, on that note, I'll thank you, Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma and Vice Admiral Shankar Sinha, for having joined us in Newsnight tonight.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's move on now. Days before the expected announcement of election dates by the Election Commission for Delhi Assembly polls, Union INB Minister Prasad Bharati hit out at both the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress, pinning blame on them for violence during the anti-CAA protests in Delhi. He also sought to draw a contrast between them and the BJP, saying BJP will be putting forth a positive agenda for the Assembly elections.
BJP blowing the poll bugle for the upcoming Delhi Assembly elections. The Election Commission is putting the final touches to the poll preparations before announcing the dates. These will be the first polls in 2020. Information and Broadcasting Minister and senior BJP leader Prasad Bharati launched a scathing attack on the opposition, saying that Congress and Aam Aadmi Party are responsible for the violence in Delhi related to CAA. Bharati called for an apology from both parties. He said it was a battle between anarchy and nationalism.
दिल्ली जैसे शांत शहर में नागरिकता कानून पर जानबूझकर माइनॉरिटी के मन में संभ्रम पैदा करके जो अशांति का माहौल तैयार किया, और जो सार्वजनिक संपत्ति का नुकसान हुआ उसके लिए कांग्रेस और आम आदमी पार्टी जिम्मेवार है। उनको दिल्ली के जनता की माफी मांगनी चाहिए।
He said that in contrast, the BJP will put forth a positive agenda for the assembly elections.
दिल्ली का चुनाव भारतीय जनता पार्टी पूरी ताकत से लड़ेगी और बहुत शानदार सफलता हम पाएंगे। विजय का हमें आत्मविश्वास है क्योंकि हम पॉजिटिव एजेंडा लेकर जा रहे हैं। मोदी सरकार ने दिल्ली के लिए इतने काम किए, वो भी जनता के सामने रखेंगे।
Prakash Javadekar listed the steps taken by the union government for the welfare of Delhi, including the historic decision of granting ownership rights in unauthorized colonies. He accused the AAP of hindering the development efforts made by the municipal corporations. He said the people of Delhi are surprised that AAP has woken up from deep hibernation of 4 years and is now doling out scheme after scheme since elections are approaching. Prakash Javadekar is the in charge of Delhi BJP for the assembly polls. With Bikramjit Singh, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Meanwhile, the centre has upped the ante on anti-CAA protests as well as moves with the Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad lashing out at the Kerala Assembly for having passed a resolution calling for scrapping of the Constitutional Amendment Act, saying that state's constitutional duty is to implement laws passed by Parliament and the state assemblies don't decide on such matters. Listen in.
The new year began with a renewed focus on putting to rest myths and fallacies surrounding the Citizenship Amendment Act. Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad hit out at the left government in Kerala a day after the State Assembly passed a resolution against the Citizenship Amendment Act. He advised the legislators of the state to seek better legal advice before commenting on matters that fall beyond their purview.
Article 245. The laws passed by Parliament are applicable in the entire country. And entry 17 of list 1 of 7th schedule clearly states that Parliament has got complete sovereign power to pass any law related to citizenship and naturalization. There is a constitutional obligation of every state under Article 256 to exercise their executive power in such a way so as to ensure compliance with the laws made by Parliament.
BJP's Rajya Sabha member GVL Narasimha Rao also wrote to the House Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu to initiate breach of parliamentary privileges and contempt proceedings against the Kerala CM over the resolution. In his letter to Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Tuesday, Rao alleged that the unwarranted, baseless and motivated allegations against the CAA were in complete disregard to the parliamentary sovereignty and exclusive powers to deal with citizenship. The statements and actions of the Chief Minister constitute a wanton and willful violation of constitutional positions. Vijayan's statements constitute a breach of parliamentary privileges enshrined in Article 105 of our Constitution, which deals with the powers, privileges, etc. of the Houses of Parliament and the members and committees thereof, he said. Narasimha added that if the misdemeanor and ill-conceived statements and actions of Vijayan go unchecked, it would set a dangerous precedent and lead to administrative chaos and constitutional mayhem.
विधानसभा का दुरुपयोग करके भारत की पार्लियामेंट पर हमला करना चाहती है केरल की सरकार। केरल की सरकार ने कल जो किया है, केरल के विधानसभा जो किया है, वो मैं मानूंगा जो जिस प्रकार आतंकी हमला हुआ था पार्लियामेंट पर, वो उसी प्रकार की ये संवैधानिक आतंकी हमला है।
Union Minister G. Kishan Reddy held a press conference in Varanasi. He referred to a statement by former PM Manmohan Singh on granting citizenship to persecuted minorities in Pakistan.
डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी भारत में जो शरणार्थी बनकर जो पाकिस्तान के माइनॉरिटीज भारत आए, उनको सिटीजनशिप देना हमारा मॉरल रिस्पांसिबिलिटी है। जो हम निर्णय किया है उसमें एक मुस्लिम, भारत के मुस्लिम इसमें इफेक्ट नहीं होगा।
Students affiliated to the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad in Udhampur organized a rally supporting the act. Their aim was to spread the message that false propaganda is being spread in the name of CAA protests. Meanwhile, protest against the act also continued. A huge gathering at India Gate was seen.
जब इस देश का विभाजन हुआ तो उसका आधार धर्म ही था। मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने उसको धार्मिक उन्माद पैदा किया, तभी पाकिस्तान बटा था। तो जो पाकिस्तान में हिंदू समाज के रह गए, हमारे ईसाई समाज के रह गए, हमारे सिख बंधु रह गए, तो उनके परिवार के साथ वहाँ पर जो वेदना उनको झेलनी पड़ती है, उनको जो टॉर्चर किया जाता है, तो यदि ये सीएए कानून बना करके वो भारत में आएंगे तो भारत उनका देश है, भारत उनको तहे दिल से स्वीकार करेगा क्योंकि वो हमारे भाई हैं।
Meanwhile, the BJP leadership in West Bengal has decided to launch a blitzkrieg campaign in the state to counter the TMC's misinformation programs regarding Citizenship Amendment Act and reach out to refugees. State Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has also said she will not implement the act. With Bureau Inputs, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
On the first day of 2020, ISRO shared plans for upcoming missions, saying 4 Indian Air Force pilots have been selected for the ambitious Gaganyaan manned space mission program, whose astronaut training would commence soon in Russia. And a day after, Union Minister Jitendra Singh said that India will launch Chandrayaan-3 most likely in 2020. ISRO Chairman K. Shivan said that the activities for the mission were going on smoothly.
Indian Space Research Organisation setting the agenda for 2020. After a successful 2019, 2020 promises to be a good year for the Space Research Organisation. It is planning to launch the first unmanned test flight of the Gaganyaan mission, carrying a humanoid next year, as well as around a dozen key satellite missions. 2019 saw 13 missions, including 6 launch vehicle missions and 7 satellite missions. 50 foreign satellites from 7 countries were launched on a commercial basis as well. ISRO Chief K. Sivan told the media that the training of astronauts for the ambitious manned mission Gaganyaan will commence from the 3rd week of January in Russia.
Astronauts have their selection process is over. Now the 4 astronauts identified for training purpose. That process also completed. Now the training for these 4 astronauts will be planned in the 3rd week of January of this year.
He said work related to Chandrayaan-3 and Gaganyaan was going on simultaneously. Work on the country's 3rd lunar mission was on, but the launch may shift to next year.
Chandrayaan-3 is the government has approved, and it is that the project is now formed. The activity is going on Chandrayaan-3 very smoothly, and Chandrayaan-3 configuration will be almost similar to Chandrayaan-2. Only thing is, in that Chandrayaan-2 we had orbiter, lander, rover configuration. Here this orbiter already functioned will be used. So Chandrayaan-2 will be having mostly a lander and rover and with a propulsion module.
Many new satellites will be launched in 2020. ISRO chief said that at least 10 satellite missions are in the pipeline. They will include advanced communication satellites, GSAT-1 and GSAT-12R, and Earth observation satellites RESAT-2BR2 and Microsat for surveillance.
Chandrayaan-3 will put the dreams of millions of Indians once again on the moon, and ISRO hopes that this mission will complete the unfinished task of Chandrayaan-2. With cameraman Nagraj, Aisha Khanam, DD News, Bangalore.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka starting tomorrow. He will distribute Krishi Karman Awards and Commendation Awards to states and Krishi Karman Awards for progressive farmers in Tumkur. He will also dedicate 5 DRDO Young Scientist Laboratories to the nation in Bengaluru at the DRDO to boost indigenous research capabilities in the defence sector.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka commencing on the 2nd of January. On Thursday, he will visit the Siddhaganga Mutt, during which he will pay tributes to his spiritual guru, Sri Shivkumar Swami. After his visit to the Mutt, The PM will address a gathering at the Krishi Karman Awards presentation ceremony and attend distribution of fishing equipment function.
कृषि कर्मण्य अवार्ड जो है कर्नाटक सरकार से हो रहा है। कर्नाटक सरकार वो जो कृषि में जो साधना की है उन लोगों को दे रहे हैं, वो प्रधानमंत्री जी के कर कमल से दिया जा रहा है। और इसके अलावा कृषि सम्मान जो निधि है उसका भी सेकंड इंस्टॉलमेंट रिलीज होगा। मुझे लगता है तुमकुर के इतिहास में एक बहुत बड़ा कार्यक्रम होगा।
The Siddhaganga Mutt was established over 500 years ago in the form of a Gurukul. The Gurukul used to provide free education to children belonging to poor and backward sections of society. In 1914, Sri Sri Shivkumar was handed over the responsibility of the Gurukul. Under his guidance, the Gurukul not only provided free education but also free hostel facilities. Today, the Mutt runs 132 educational institutions which include junior colleges, medical and engineering colleges, a blind school and many more that provide free education and food to children. Around 8,000 students currently study in the various institutes. In 2015, Sri Sri Shivkumar Swami was conferred with the Padma Bhushan. Prime Minister Modi will also visit the Defence Research and Development Organisation on Thursday, a day after the organisation celebrates its 62nd Foundation Day.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be dedicating the Young Scientist Laboratory to the nation. Now, well, there are 5 Young Scientist Laboratory in our country. That's in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bengaluru and Hyderabad.
It was the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister that this kind of laboratory should be created and young scientists should be given a leadership role to run the laboratory.
Now, what DRDO is targeting as of now, that going forward in next 5 to 10 years, our defense system should be close to 75 to 80% be completely indigenous. That means 80% of our dependency should be indigenous. That means it should be made in India. And this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not only boost the research ecosystem as far as the DRDO is concerned, but it will also give a major push to the confidence of the young scientists of our country.
With Anuj Yadav and Rajesh Raj in Tumkur, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The new year has brought good tidings on the economy front. For the second month in a row, GST revenue collection has scaled the 1 lakh crore rupees peak. December mop-up stood at 1.03 lakh crore rupees, indicating consumption pickup. In November, it was 1,03,492 crore rupees. Sources said improvement in compliances may also be a reason. The government has set an ambitious 1.1 lakh crore rupees monthly GST target for the remaining part of the current fiscal and asked taxmen to step up efforts to achieve the goal. For now, it seems the government is well on track if you go by the record of November and December. Time now for news from regions in Regional Roundup.
2 army personnel were killed in a gunfight with heavily armed Pakistani infiltrators along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri district. The infiltrators were intercepted in the Khari Triad forest when they were trying to sneak into India from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Congress leader and Maharashtra State Congress Chief Balasaheb Thorat said that the disappointed legislator Sangram Thopte have been convinced by the party. Sangram supporters on Tuesday vandalized the Congress Bhavan in Shivaji Nagar against the non-allocation of any portfolio to him in the state cabinet. TDP chief N. Chandrababu Naidu along with his wife visited the farmers of Amravati who are protesting against the YSR Congress party's government proposal of 3 capitals. The people of 29 villages in Amravati region are demanding to continue Andhra Pradesh's capital at Amravati only. Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar today released Prasar Bharati calendar for the year 2020. He extended his wishes to the nation on the occasion of New Year and appealed to people to work with new determination.
2019 has been a busy year for India with landmark judgments leaving a mark of New India on the world. We conducted a poll of 10 such news on social media. The results are out. Take a look.
"17 rebel Karnataka MLAs disqualification upheld, can contest by polls." The Supreme Court on 13th November upheld an order by former Karnataka Assembly Speaker K. Ramesh Kumar disqualifying 17 Karnataka MLAs in July, but term of disqualification of the MLAs from Congress and the JDS was struck down. The order allowed all the disqualified MLAs to contest in the by-polls. The former speaker had said in his order that the MLAs cannot contest elections until the term of the current assembly ends in 2023. 17 disqualified Karnataka MLAs belonging to Congress and the JDS had filed petitions after former Karnataka Assembly Speaker K. Ramesh Kumar passed an order to disqualify them ahead of the trust vote in July. Supreme Court dismisses opposition plea to review the order on the VVPAT counting. The Supreme Court on 7th May dismissed a plea of 21 opposition parties led by Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu to review its judgment rejecting 50% random physical verification of electronic voting machines using voter-verified paper audit trail. Opposition parties had sought a review of Supreme Court verdict that increased counting of VVPAT slips to 5 random electronic voting machines in each assembly constituency. The opposition wanted to increase the number to at least 25%. The Election Commission had said that a 50% random physical verification of VVPATs would delay the Lok Sabha election results by 6 days. Three get life sentence in the Katwa rape murder case. The special court in Pathankot on 10th of June convicted 6 out of 7 people accused in the Katwa rape and murder case. The temple priest and village head Sanji Ram, the main accused in the case, was convicted with 5 others including 2 special police officers and a police constable. The others who were convicted include Sanji Ram's juvenile nephew and 2 special police officers Deepak Khajuria and Surendra Varma. Sanji Ram, the caretaker of the temple where the crime took place, Special Police Officer Deepak Khajuria and Parvesh Kumar, a civilian, were convicted under Ranbir Penal Code sections pertaining to criminal conspiracy, murder, kidnapping, gang rape, destruction of evidence, drugging the victim and common intention. They have been sentenced to life imprisonment and fined 1 lakh rupees each for the murder, along with 25 years in jail for gang rape. Supreme Court refers the Sabrimala case to 7-judge bench, along with other issues of alleged discrimination against Muslim and Parsi women. The Supreme Court on 14th November declined to pass any order on the pleas by 2 women activists seeking a direction to the Kerala government to ensure safe entry of women in the Sabrimala temple under police protection. The top court said the issue was very emotive and it did not want the situation to become explosive. The apex court also said it would endeavour to constitute the larger bench at the earliest to hear the matter. The bench said that though there was no stay on 20th September 2018 judgment allowing entry of women of all ages into the shrine, it is equally true that it is not final. It also said it would not pass any orders till the decision is given by the larger bench, and there is no problem if women are happily welcomed in the temple to pray. On 14th November, a 5-judge constitution bench headed by then Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi in a 3-2 majority verdict had referred the plea seeking a review of its historic 2018 judgment to a 7-judge bench along with other contentious issues of alleged discrimination against Muslim and Parsi women. Supreme Court order on AGR, huge blow to Bharati Boda idea. The Supreme Court verdict allowing the centre to recover 92,641 crore rupees in total adjusted gross revenue, the AGR, from telecom operators in India is a massive blow to Bharati Airtel. Supreme Court order in the long-standing AGR case, Airtel and the combined entity of Vodafone Idea are liable to pay 21,700 crore rupees and 28,300 crore rupees respectively. These liabilities pertain only to underpaid license fee and associated penalty and interest. The apex court had on 24th October upheld the AGR definition formulated by the Department of Telecom and termed as frivolous the nature of objections raised by the telecom service providers. Holding that interest and penalty have rightly been levied on the telecom companies, the apex court had made it clear that there would be no further litigation on the issue and it would fix a time frame for calculation and the payment of dues by the telecom companies. Office of Chief Justice of India falls under the RTI, says Supreme Court. The Supreme Court on 13th November held that the Office of the Chief Justice of India is a public authority and falls within the ambit of the Right to Information Act. A 5-judge constitution bench headed by then Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi upheld the 2010 Delhi High Court verdict and dismissed 3 appeals filed by Secretary General of the Supreme Court and the Central Public Information Officer of the Apex Court. Cautioning that the RTI cannot be used as a tool of surveillance, the top court in its judgment held that judicial independence has to be kept in mind while dealing with transparency. The bench, also comprising Justices N.V. Ramana, D.Y. Chandrachud, Deepak Gupta and Sanjeev Khanna, said that only the names of judges recommended by the coalition for appointment can be disclosed, not the reasons. Expelled BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar gets life imprisonment in Unnao rape case. A Delhi court convicted expelled BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in 2017 Unnao rape case. District Judge Dharmesh Sharma imposed an exemplary fine of 25 lakh rupees in the case, which has to be paid within a month. The court had convicted Sengar for rape under the Indian Penal Code and the POCSO Act for offence by a public servant committing sexual assault against a child after holding the victim to be a minor. The woman was abducted and raped by Sengar in 2017 when she was a minor. Nirav Modi declared fugitive economic offender, second after Vijay Mallya to get the tag. A special court in Mumbai declared billionaire businessman Nirav Modi a fugitive economic offender by Prevention of Money Laundering Act court in Mumbai. Nirav Modi is the second person to be declared a fugitive economic offender after Vijay Mallya. Nirav Modi, currently under arrest in the UK, is accused of defrauding the Punjab National Bank of more than 10,000 crore rupees by scamming a software used by banks worldwide. Nirav Modi and his uncle Mehul Choksi are the prime accused in the PNB fraud case. He was declared a fugitive economic offender. The first person to be declared a fugitive economic offender under the act was Vijay Mallya, who is accused of fraud and defaulting on bank loans to the tune of 9,000 crore rupees. Supreme Court dismisses Rafale review petitions. The Supreme Court on 14th November dismissed pleas seeking a review of its December order against investigating the Rafale deal, insisting it was satisfied with the material produced by the government to support the pricing of the fighter jets that India is procuring from France. The bench stated that there was no merit in the review petition and that no probe was required in the purchase deal. The petitioners had alleged irregularities in the purchase of 36 Rafale fighter jets from France's Tissot Aviation. In a unanimous verdict, the bench concluded that it was not appropriate to order a roving inquiry into the allegations. The petition was dismissed on the grounds that it is not within the purview of judicial review. Justice Joseph suggested that the main verdict would not impact any independent inquiry into the allegations of corruption on the Rafale deal and subject to taking approval under Section 17A of the Prevention of Corruption Act. Ayodhya case, Supreme Court delivers landmark judgment. Supreme Court delivered a landmark judgment in the Ayodhya land dispute case on 9th November. 5-judge Constitution bench headed by then Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi pronounced the unanimous decision. The Apex Court handed the possession of 2.77 acres of disputed land to a board of trustees to be constituted by the centre for managing the matters related to the temple. The court directed the central government to form a trust for the purpose within 3 months. The court also ordered an allotment of an alternative piece of 5 acres of land to Sunni Waqf Board for the construction of mosque. The court said that the land shall be allotted either by the central government from the land acquired under the Ayodhya Act 1993 or the state government at a suitable prominent place in Ayodhya.
International news now. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has strongly condemned the US attacks on Iran-allied militia group in Iraq. The statement came after the US President Donald Trump said that he does not want war with Iran. Trump has earlier threatened to retaliate against the country. He has warned Iran of the recent outburst outside its embassy in Baghdad. US airstrikes on bases operated by the Iranian-backed militia inside Iraq claimed the lives of at least 25 fighters and wounded 55. The strikes were in retaliation to the killing of a US civilian contractor in a rocket attack on an Iraqi military base. The protesters have, however, vowed to continue demonstrating outside the US embassy in Baghdad. At least 15 people died due to devastating bushfires that engulfed Australia's southeast coast. The blazes have destroyed many businesses in the region. Bushfires have also destroyed more than 4 million hectares of land, and new blazes are sparked almost daily by extremely hot and windy conditions. Meanwhile, the temperature in the country has dropped, giving relief to the people, but pollution continues to grip New South Wales and Canberra. China has started implementing the adjusted tariffs on over 850 imported commodities on the first day of 2020. The aim is to promote high-quality development of trade. It has imposed zero import tax on pharmaceutical products containing alkaloids for asthma to promote the production of new medicines. The country has introduced or reduced the provisional import tax rates on daily consumer goods, including frozen pork and avocados, to ease the domestic supply and demand pressure. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has declared an end to moratoriums on nuclear and intercontinental ballistic missile tests and threatened a demonstration of a new strategic weapon soon. Meanwhile, Washington has swiftly responded, with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo urging Kim to take a different course and stressed on the US's intentions of peace and not confrontation with North Korea. A grand show combining fireworks, lighted music took place at Hong Kong's Victoria Harbour to celebrate arrival of the new year. Look at the fireworks in front of you. That's how Hong Kong rang in New Year 2020. And people in Rio de Janeiro also welcomed New Year 2020 with pomp and colourful fireworks. Well, that's not all. London welcomed in 2020 with around 12,000 firework extravaganza over Big Ben. For a scintillating display of fireworks, and that we saw in Australia, in New Zealand, in New York as well. Russia too embraced 2020 in style. Russia welcomed the arrival of 2020 with fireworks display over Moscow's Red Square amid unusually warm weather. But temperatures are never really a hurdle when it comes to these celebrations. We've seen it for sure this time around as the world welcomed 2020 in style. That's it then in this edition of Newsnight. Thanks for watching.